Hello and welcome to this video, guys. In this video, we're going to be talking about this guy right here. And I don't mean the camera, I mean this guy right here. This is the KEKS KM02. It's a compact light meter that attaches to the hot shoe or cold shoe of your camera. I've had mine for about 6 months, and using it, I've shot countless rolls of color film, black and white film, and even slide film. And in this video, I want to talk about the specs, how it works, comparing it to my Sekonic handheld meter. I'll then give you some pros and cons of using the KEKS KM02. So without further ado, let's hop into the specs. I have my iPad right here that has all the information that I need. So it is made out of aluminum. The colors it comes in is black or chrome. I have the chrome version right here. It weighs 29 grams. It comes with 3 different shoe mounts, so you can customize it to fit your hot shoe or cold shoe on your camera. It charges via USB-C. It has a 0.91 inch OLED screen on the back. The angle of view of the metering is equivalent to about a 50mm lens on full frame. You have a single or continuous metering modes. You have aperture and shutter priority, exposure compensation from -3 to +3 in third stop increments. The aperture, shutter speed, and ISO can all be changed in third, half, or full stop increments. The ISL value goes from 6 all the way to 102,400. The shutter speed goes from 30 seconds all the way to 1/8,000th of a second. And the aperture goes from f1.0 to f128. So those are the specs. Hopefully that wasn't too much of an info dump. But now that we've gone over the specs of this light meter, let's talk about how it works. To start metering, press the back button. To change from aperture priority to shutter priority, we're going to press the top left button. We can then use the 2 right buttons to cycle through our aperture. Pressing the top left to return to shutter priority. Then we can use the same right buttons to change our shutter speed. We can press the back button to lock our meter reading. The bottom left button will bring us to our menu. We can then use the right buttons to cycle through our menu settings. And pressing the left button brings us back to our metering mode. To change our ISO, hold the back button while using the 2 right buttons to go up or down in ISO value. And then to power off the meter, we can hold the bottom left button, or we can wait 30 seconds for it to automatically turn itself off. Okay, so now let's hop into the comparisons between the KM02 and my Sekonic L308S-U. So I've had this light meter for probably 7 or 8 years, and I've used it to take the majority of my images, especially on medium format film. However, when I got this Leica M2, I didn't really want to have to carry around this thing whenever I was going out to shoot. Not that there's anything wrong with carrying it around, but it would be nice to simplify the process to have just one thing that I have to carry around, and that's why the KEKS KM02 was so interesting to me. However, one thing I was a little bit apprehensive about was the accuracy of the actual light meter, as I've gotten so used to using this. But once the KEKS KM02 arrived, I started doing some comparisons between these two to see how this compared to this. As I started doing my tests, all of my apprehensions disappeared as I was getting really similar results between the 2 light meters. So now I want to talk about some of the pros of this system. I think the first thing is the size. This being the KM02, to my knowledge, it's the largest and the most feature-packed meter that KEKS currently has. There are smaller versions. I think it's called the KMQ, which is more of like a smaller cube style. And so, even though that this is the largest one that they have, it's still very compact and really small. But if you are someone who is interested in a smaller version, KEKS does have those available on their website. So the size is definitely the first pro to this. The next one I'm going to say is the price. I believe this is on sale right now for $99, although when it was released, I believe it was only $112, which is still a really good deal compared to other hot or cold shoe mounted light meters that are on the market. The next thing is going to be the battery life. Like I said earlier, I've had this thing for 6 months. I got it in September, and I'm pretty sure I've only charged it one time. On KEKS's website, they claim that the battery life can last over 21 hours with the screen on. So you can imagine how long that would last, because I have mine set to auto power off after 30 seconds. So again, you can do those calculations for yourself, but 30 seconds, it turns off and it can last for like 21 hours. And again, I've charged it, I think, one time in 6 months. The next thing I want to talk about is the accuracy of the KM02. As you saw, comparing it to the Sekonic, we were getting the exact same readings. The Sekonic might be a little bit more accurate in some ways, but for the most part, I don't think you're going to have any inaccurate results using this. Last but not least is the color. Like I mentioned earlier, it comes in black or chrome. I have the chrome one here because I have a chrome Leica M2. Now, if you look at it close up, you can see that there are slight differences with the finish, but it is really hard to tell, and you actually really have to be looking at it. I mean, I don't know if it's obvious from, the camera's position right now, if there is a very noticeable difference. Again, looking at it from here, I can see that there is a difference, but it matches up like 99% of the way. And it does seem like something that only the owner would recognize. If someone's walking up on the street, they're not going to see that, there's a big difference between the two. Okay, so those are the pros that I've come up with, and so now I want to talk about the cons. There are only two, and I don't think they're that big of a deal, but I'll let you make that decision up for yourself. The first one, I don't know if you just heard that, but it's the buttons. They're kind of noisy, and just take a listen. And I am shaking it right now, but even when it's on my camera, if I'm like holding it and like moving it, picking it up, the shaking is just there. It's inevitable. It's the buttons. If I hold the buttons, the shaking kind of like, yeah, it pretty much almost fully goes away. It's not that big of a deal. It's just something that I noticed when I first got it, and it's something that has never fully disappeared. And it's not to say that the buttons, I think, are going to fall off or anything. They're built well. It's just they jiggle and make a fair bit of noise. The last one, also, again, probably isn't that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, but I wish that it was a little bit more secure in the hot shoe. It kind of just like tends to wiggle around. I don't think it's going to fall off. Like it is pretty secure in there. I do think part of that is that my Leica M2's cold shoe has two of these spring-loaded, almost like prongs, that helps to keep whatever's in there. And the cold shoe or the shoe adapters that come with the KEKS KM02 actually don't have any springs. KEKS sells a version that does have springs, but it doesn't come with these light meters. I feel like it should, because if you're someone who owns a camera that doesn't have these, these spring-loaded prongs, there might be a chance that this thing could maybe slip out. Although I feel like you would have to kind of notice it slipping and not doing anything about it, because, it does come with a couple different shoes, so you can make sure it fits your hot shoe or your cold shoe as best as it can. But when I'm shooting, I kind of find that it tilts kind of often, and so I find myself just pushing up against to keep it flush. Again, this is realistically probably not that big of a deal. It's just something that I wanted to note. But other than the buttons making noises and the cold shoe kind of wiggling around a little bit, I've realistically had no other issues using the KEKS KM02, and the two cons that I listed are pretty insignificant, especially in the grand scheme of things. And when you think about all the pros that I listed, and just how great of a light meter it is, as I've said multiple times, I've been using it for 6 months. I've gotten great results using it. It's really great because it's added a light meter to my M2 and has allowed me to not have to take two different things with me. I can just have the M2 and take photos. Do I use it for every shot? No, not necessarily. If I'm going out, if I'm outside and I meter, the light doesn't change, I don't feel the need to re-meter, but it's just nice to have for the sake of convenience. It's a fantastic product, and if you are someone who's been interested in picking something up like this, I'd say go for it if you are in need of having a mounted light meter on your camera. Just so it's easy, I'll leave a link in the description to KEKS's website. This is not an affiliate link. KEKS doesn't know I'm making this video. This, again, is just for your convenience. If you are someone who's interested in learning more or just purchasing the light meter, it'll be down there somewhere in the description. So I think on that note, I'm going to end the video. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like or subscribing. If you own a KEKS light meter or are interested in picking one up, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, please consider checking out more of my videos. And if you like the photos that you saw and want to see more of my other work, I'll leave my Instagram on the screen right now, as well as a link to my Instagram and my website in the description below. So finally, with all that being said, thank you guys again so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.